Hello, it's Amy, and I'm back again with the Journal of Emily Shore. This is the diary of a teenage girl in the 1830s, and it was published for the first time in 1891. And we are beginning on the year 1835 when Emily Shore was about 15 at this point. I believe she's 14 or 15, it's not entirely clear throughout these entries when her birthday is. But she didn't write anything at all in January here. And we begin on February 10th of 1835 for this year. She was at Woodbury in London, in Rochester, and then again at Woodbury throughout this year. And so I believe she's beginning this year in February at Woodbury. And it was a Tuesday. So she says, I shall study botany this year in a very different way from that which I have done and been accustomed to pursue. For I find that I have hitherto been a very superficial botanist, attending to little besides the classifications, and not studying the habits, properties, and uses of plants, as I do the habits of birds. I might just as well call myself an ornithologist if I knew only in what tribe to place a bird, or call myself at present a botanist. February 14th, Saturday. As we were sitting at dinner, Papa came into the room and called me to look at a bird which he and Mamma were watching from the library window, and did not know. I came directly, and saw the bird hopping on the path between the weeping ash and the shrubbery on the west side of the house. It was about the size of a starling, and carried itself something in the manner of a thrush. I was near enough to see the colours and its crest, and presently recognized it as that very rare bird, the waxen chatterer, or silk-tail, a German bird which occasionally comes to England towards the end of winter, and feeds on berries and insects. It is very handsome, a kind of purplish reddish ash above, and grey and reddish-orange below. The crest is long and silky, the face black, the wings irregularly barred with white. One of these birds was shot in Sussex not long ago. Very little is known of their habits. I shall watch this individual if it stays in the garden. I have already observed that it hops and comes to the ground to look for insects. February 17, Tuesday. I have just tried to count the notes of the thrush. I listened to one singing before my window and put down a mark for every different note. In less than 2 minutes I had got 46, including not every single syllable, but polysyllable or cluster of notes, and I have now exhausted all his notes. They are quite endless and are multiplied by constantly varying the tone of each note. February 28, Saturday. I have had for some time past a room to myself, which is a great pleasure to me. It is one which used to be called the Lark Room. It looks east, over the east part of the garden, the paddock, and Whitewood. Immediately in front of it is the larch, which abounds in small birds. Beyond is the shrubbery. I like it better than any room in the house. March 4, Wednesday. I have finished 3 chronological tables which succeed one another in regular order. Each has 5 columns. The first column has the chronology of the emperors of the West, succeeded by that of Italy in general. The second, the emperors of the East, till the taking of Constantinople. The third, Persia. The fourth, Calips. The fifth, miscellaneous. The latter part being the chronology of the Ottoman sultans. The making of these tables has been of immense use to me in teaching me general history and chronology. I intend to make one more of the modern European nations. When I finished writing these tables, I glue on them an edging of pasteboard painted black. These charts, 8 in all, are still existing and are marvels of execution. And that's an editor's note. And it makes me wonder if, 130 years after the editor made this note, if those charts are still in existence. March 16th, Monday. I ordered at Fraser's some time ago a folio book of 120 pages, ruled in a particular way, for me to take notes every day of what birds are in song. It came today, the cost 8 and 6 pence. Every page has 10 columns, perpendicularly, and above 30 horizontally. Of the perpendicular columns, the first is for the day of the month, the second for the weather, the rest for the birds' names. The horizontal columns, of course, contain the notes of every day. Every month will occupy 2 or 3 pages, except the depth of winter. I shall copy out into this book all my notes of bird songs from last June up to this day, and then I shall continue my notes in the book itself. And so that is quite a remarkable task for a teenage girl to take on. Certainly I was not that organized or coordinated in my studies at 16. March 27, Friday. We entered the orchard today, and as we were walking about it, a fox suddenly splashed into the moat and, jumping out on the other side, ran off over the cow pasture. A gentleman's house in the reign of Elizabeth stood on the ground now occupied by these moated fields and orchards. April 13, Monday. I began, after a long cessation, painting my flower wreaths for every month. I drew an oxlip in a wreath for April. April 14, Tuesday. We may now expect any birds of passage. The cuckoo has been heard Monday and Sunday, and Mr. Ashton, one of the pupils, has seen 2 swallows this morning. I cannot believe what I often hear said, that the birds return sooner in fine, warm springs, for instinct must be a wonderful quality indeed, if it informs them when at the equator that it is fine weather in England. Besides, the instinct would be useless unless it informed them also whether the fine weather would continue. April 16, Thursday. The study of natural history seems to me to be one which belongs to the nature of man and is born with him. I shall never believe that an individual exists who could not have been taught to love it, if led to it early. This, I believe, is the only pursuit of which this can be said, for I am not quite certain that it is true of a literary taste. The study of natural history is perfectly inexhaustible. I believe that if I were chained for life to Woodbury, and never allowed to ramble from it more than 3 or 4 miles, the utmost limit of my walks, and excluded as I am by its situation from all the birds that haunt mountains, rocks, and seasides, that is, haunting them peculiarly, and from most kinds that haunt all sorts of waters, I believe that even in this situation, I should forever be discovering something new. April 25th, Saturday. I shall put down the substance of some explanations Papa gave us today at our Greek lesson about the natural and artificial year. Everyone knows that by dividing the year into 12 months of 28 or 30 days, we make a year which is less than the solar year by some days, which, accumulating in time, would bring the seasons wrong. The solar year consists of 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, 57 seconds. But up to the time of Julius Caesar, the Roman year consisted only of 365 days, with an intercalary month every other year to make the year correspond with the solar year. But this intercalary month did not make it correspond exactly, and the consequence was that in the time of Julius Caesar, the seasons came wrong, and what was really winter was called autumn. Caesar put an end to the confusion by making 1 year of 15 months and settling the year for the future at 366 days. But as the former year had been less than the real time of the Earth's revolution around the sun, so this, though much nearer than the truth, was more, and consequently in time, the seasons again became wrong, the other way. Accordingly, in the year 1582, Pope Gregory X111, there's a Roman numeral there, and I'm struggling to remember exactly what that Roman numeral stands for, but Pope Gregory corrected the error by throwing out of the year 11 overplus days, with a leap year every 4th year, except every 100th year, which alteration makes it so nearly right the difference will hardly amount to a day in 7,000 years. The Gregorian style was not adopted in England until 1752. The Egyptians, according to Herodotus divided the year into 12 months of 30 days, and every year added 5 days more, which made it very nearly the true solar year. April 28, Tuesday. I begin to think that thrushes and blackbirds find out the cockchafer grub by hearing, for their manner of looking for them is not to apply the bill to the ground as if to smell, but to trot about or stand still in a listening attitude, with the head high in the air, and then to dart off to the spot where they expect to find the creature. And we have just finished up April. So I will leave it at that for today, and tomorrow we will read the entries from May 1835.